Well, hello there, and welcome to Travel Marketeering Live. It's me, Joshua Harrell, and I am your host. And I want to say I'm the chief travel marketeer. I'm going to give myself that title. I think that that's what I'm going to do right now. Anyway, welcome, especially if you are joining us live. If you are joining us live, drop it in the comments. Tell me where you're coming from, where you're watching from. Sorry, you're not coming anywhere. You're watching. Where you're watching, what you're doing today. I mean, come on. It's a Saturday if you're watching this live. What is on your agenda for today? Uh, it doesn't go. It doesn't get past me that you're gonna sit here and do some travel marketeering on a Saturday, in addition to whatever else you have to do. So very happy to hear that. So drop that in the chat. And if you are new here, a way that we like to show a little praise, a little acknowledgement is with a TM. So, TM for travel marketeering. If you are feeling what we're talking about today, drop a TM in the chat. It's a travel marketeer greet, right? It's the way we greet each other. If you are new here, then please join our Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. All you have to do is search Travel Marketeers on Facebook, and it asks you a couple of questions, and then we'll let you in. It's a very inclusive group, but love to have you there. And many of our marketeers like to ask questions, show their logos, show marketing materials, things like that. So it's a great group to join if you just want to, collaborate with fellow travel marketeers. Sorry, I've got earbuds in my ear. That's why I'm fidgeting. And I have earbuds in my ear because I have a guest today. And I am super excited. I don't normally have a guest on Travel Marketeering Live, but I have a guest today, and he's super cool. I've known him now for quite a few years. I've watched his journey unfold, and to say that I am amazed is an understatement because I have watched him do the things, all the things that we all know we should do, we could do, oftentimes we don't do. So it's very cool because I've been able to watch him do this. But the other thing I just love about him is that he is so willing to help a fellow travel entrepreneur and advisor. I see him do it all the time. So it was a no-brainer for me to ask him to be a guest. So without further ado, I'd like to invite my good friend, Alan Granza. Hey, Alan.
Hey Joshua, thank you so much for having me. That was quite the little introduction there, so I appreciate it.
Well, I have to do a setup like that because, as you witnessed as we were just getting started, I was having tech issues, so I had to make it up to you. But I believe everything that I say. Alan, you really are someone who you've got a killer business, but you have grown that business in a short amount of time. And just from being able to work with you and hang with you, we've visited a few theme parks together, you and I.
That's
I've heard a lot of your story in progress, and I thought, you know, we talk about travel marketeering all the time, but you have been living it. So I thought, if you were okay with that, we could unpack that today. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we do have some people that are joining us in the chat. So I'm going to acknowledge that right now. We've got Rebecca joining us. Aloha, Joshua, watching from Florida. You weren't expecting an aloha from Florida, but we do with our Rebecca. Leslie, hi from New Orleans, working, of course. You know what? Because it doesn't stop just because it's the weekend, right? Let's see. Charlotte, I'm in Bailey, North Carolina, and I'm working today. I don't know where Bailey is. Now, Alan, you're in North Carolina. Where do you know where Bailey
Yeah,
is?
I actually know Charlotte, but I don't know exactly where it is. I think it's on or closer to the coast. I could be completely wrong. and Charlotte could correct me there, but that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. That's, I feel like that whenever you're talking about Pennsylvania, it's like, yeah, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are very, very different
Yeah.
parts of the state. All right, Julie is joining us. Hi from Cumming, Georgia. Good to see you, Julie. Lisa is giving us our first TM of the day. Lisa, TM back at you. Let's see. All together getaways. Hello, boo that I'm not feeling well this Saturday, but yay that I'm taking it easy at home and can watch live. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well, but glad that you are here. Leslie is giving us a TM. Michelle is giving us a good morning. Chris waving. Oh, here comes Stephanie. Hi, Joshua and Alan. Stephanie, good to
Hey,
see
Stephanie.
you. Oh, and here's Rocky from Flights and Fables. He says he really does help a lot. That's he's not talking about me. He's talking about you, Alan.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
Leslie, hey, Alan. Kara, hi, guys. Steph with an F, applause and a crown. Christine, howdy from Texas. Man, y'all are
We got a lot
blowing
of
up.
people.
Yeah. Charlotte, it's between Wilson and Raleigh.
Okay, so closer to the coast than I am, so I'll go with that.
I love it. Wendy is not here for the marketing, but here for Alan. Hannah, hey from Milwaukee. Wow, what a great group. Thank you guys for
Awesome.
joining us live. And throughout the show today, guys, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to throw in a TM. We love that. We need that encouragement. Now, Alan, I've teased it a little bit about your story, but for those who have not had a chance to meet you yet, uh, what can you share about your journey in the travel industry and building Extravaganza Travel?
Yeah, so I started this just like probably many of you guys, where it was a side gig. Um, I started it just to kind of pay for my own personal travel to Disney and to some all inclusive resorts. And that was all that I thought it was ever going to be. Um, and it really started to pick up and take off. Maybe like 2 years into when I started, and I started the end of 2020. So coming right out of COVID, um, which is a crazy time to think about starting a travel business, but that's right when stuff started to open back up. And I felt like travel advisors was really needed at that point. And I'm sure everybody could relate to that, just because so many restrictions and um, different things you had to follow and procedures and all of that nobody knew what was going on and it was changing every week. So um, that really helped me, I feel like, and it just kind of took off in the next 2 years. And it got to the point where it got so big where I couldn't continue doing my full-time job and doing running the travel business. So I made the decision to quit my full-time job in September of 2022, and I ended up having the best month I ever had sales wise in that September. And it's been upward since, and it's been incredible ever since that. Staying super busy, a lot of referrals, which is great. Um, but I couldn't have asked for anything better. It's the career I've always wanted, and it's just been an amazing opportunity, and especially with your guys' help, especially you, Joshua. So I couldn't have done it
Oh,
without you guys.
oh, that's awesome. Thank you for now. See, now I'm gonna blush a little bit. Can you feel the love tonight? Yeah, you guys weren't ready for a song on a Saturday morning, but yep, here it's a flowing. The love is flowing. Now, Alan, you got started on your own. That you were a solopreneur, but in recent time, you now are starting to you've become a multi-agent agency, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I was by myself all the way up until last year. Probably at the end of or the beginning of 2024, I had an idea of wanting to create a team and expand the business and grow it to something I still don't even know what that looks like yet. But I kind of had that idea, but I didn't want to bring anybody on until I knew I was ready and I can give my associates everything that they possibly needed. So I spent almost a year building out a full training website, um, everything you need to possibly know. So I knew I was ready to still manage all of my clients as well as taking on new advisors. And in I think May or June of last year is when I brought my first associate on, and to as of today, I now have five. So it's been great. It's a great team that we have. Um, Everybody's pretty much a new agent coming in, so we're still learning the ropes and getting our trainings done and things like that. But it's been a great experience thus far.
And I mean, I know you said you approached it with caution. You wanted to make sure you had your stuff
Mhm.
together, but this is a new chapter for you as well as the agency owner and leading a team. How has that gone as you expected, or has that opened the doors for new discoveries?
Yeah, I think so far it's gone the way I've kind of expected it to. It's definitely challenging at times just because I'm still selling and selling a lot. So it's hard to kind of keep everything in order right now, but I'm doing my best I could. I still we hold monthly calls with the team to kind of go over um, new updates and things that are going on in the travel industry, celebrate celebrations and things like that. So it's definitely been an adjustment, but it's something that I'm used to. I come from hotel management for 15 years before that. So I'm used to managing people and things like that. But this is kind of on a little bit of a different level there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you just kind of gave the answer to Christine's question. She was like, "I'm curious, what did Alan do before opening your travel agency?" So
Yeah. So
you mentioned hotel.
I went to school for hospitality. I did an internship with Disney. After we got married, I moved back to Orlando and we worked for Disney World. I was housekeeping manager, ran the recreation department, and then I've been a director of housekeeping in a couple different hotel chains. And I also was one of those mystery inspectors. So I would travel every Monday through Friday to a different city in the country. And I would show up and say, "Surprise, I'm here to pass or fail you today." And um, spend like 5 or 6 hours at the hotel inspecting everything and meeting with the GMs and the owners and giving them their reports. And then I would leave and go to the next hotel the next day. So that was a really fun job, but I did that before I had my daughters. So it
Well,
was good.
I like the way that you explained that. You showed up. Hey, I'm here to pass or fail you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily say it like that, but that's the gist of it. And so, like, I was either the most loved or the most hated person every day of the week. So,
I love it. I love it. Now, would you say that in your role in working in hotels, that gave you that gave you more of an understanding of attention to detail, or is that something you've always had with you, and just in your life?
yeah, 100%. I think since college and since I started working in the hospitality industry, and especially in the housekeeping departments, which I've kind of was kind of focused in, the attention to detail was just on another level. I felt like for myself, yeah, it had to be just because I had to make sure our rooms were in perfect in every way and that the guests had a great experience. And so I kind of have adapted that into my own agency essentially to where I need to make sure that my clients are given the most amount of detail and treated the best they could possibly be.
Yeah. That, having traveled with you just a touch, but listening to some of the different trips that you've put together and working with your clients, while I knew that you came from hospitality and hotels, I until you were talking about it, and especially being the inspector, it dawned on me how many times I've heard you reference the details of trips that you've put together,
Mhm.
but not just reference them, it truly being something you knew the details, like it was in your DNA. And I know I've been with you when you've been. I think we've been waiting in the line at Space Mountain, and you're working with a client on your phone, and listening to you talk about those details, and knowing what to expect, and navigating that super well. Thank you for explaining that, though. I know that those who are watching are curious about, compared to their own story, how did they get into travel? I know it's helpful to hear somebody else's journey, but when you got started, you said, I got started to really just fund my own travel, my love for travel. When did it when did it click for you that it could be a business?
That's a great question. So I would probably say about a year and a half in. And I love to say that like for my own purposes, but I also hate to say that for some agents out there because I know every travel agency and agency owner is different.
Mhm.
And some people it takes off. Like I was so lucky that mine did, and there's some people that it's been years and it's not to the same level yet. So um, there's not. I wouldn't say like there's like a secret sauce or anything like that, but for me, it happened so quick and I was so grateful. Where about a year and a half in, I was my sales just kept going up and I kept getting referrals. And I got to the point where I'm like, well, this is getting really interesting. And luckily at my job, when I was a hotel manager, I was able to kind of like, I wasn't behind a desk and was monitored the whole time. So I can like walk the hallways and be answering messages and sending quotes out and things like that. So I was doing my two jobs at once. Um, so I was lucky enough to have that flexibility, which really helped. But it was getting to the point where it just wasn't feasible to be able to manage everything. Or when I was coming home from my actual job, I was spending all night working on the travel, and that was kind of ruining the home life as well.
Mhm.
So I set a goal for myself, a sales goal, and when I hit this number, then I told my wife, Catherine, that I'm quitting my job and we're gonna take the chance on this. And then I hit it in July of 2022, and I gave my boss a 2 month notice instead of a 2 week notice. And I was like, good, just because I felt like Um, I didn't have to leave right away, so I wanted
Right.
to someone in and train them and not leave them hanging either. So I did that, and it's been magical since.
I love it. Well, you say it just luck happened, and then all of that, you met your goal. But I asked you one time, and I said to you, what how did you do this? How did you make it happen? And you said, I just listened to the advice, and I did. I was doing the things. And the thing, I was like, oh, he listened to my advice. Oh, look, I'm so gifted. That's not the case. What I have learned is that you approach most things with curiosity,
Hmm.
and you don't hold back. You're a curious person. You ask the questions, you get the answers, and you have done that from the time you got into the industry. Um, just asking, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I know that you've watched other people and figured out, okay, how can I take some of those things in and incorporate it in my business? So I don't know how much of it is luck. You definitely were on a mission.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know that it's not all luck. I mean, there is a little bit of luck in there that I have a good community around me that wants to support and things like that. But like you said, yeah, I did reach out. Like when I first started, I found a couple great agency owners that ran pretty successful businesses and high end businesses, and I just asked to kind of pick their brain, and I would chat with them and kind of ask them questions every so often, and I'd listen to their advice. And everybody has different, and there's no one right way to do this job in this industry. So it was interesting learning how each person that's super successful does something. So I kind of took little bits and pieces from each person and tried to apply that into my own business, and it's helped. So
I love that you said that because there really is. I mean, there's some things that can be are pretty consistent, but the way that individuals approach it can be different.
mhm.
Personalities impacted in a big way. I talk a lot about your customer avatar and knowing who you're trying to reach. And if you and I were going toe to toe to capture a customer, that's two very, very different personalities. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that for that person, that customer making the decision, something about our delivery is going to be more attractive to them, and they're going to see, okay, that's the person that can make my trip what I want it to be. So there's I very friendly with a lot of my peers in the industry, and it's we say it over and over again. There is plenty of business for everyone because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, this is a very human centric business, right? Um,
100%. And
now,
my biggest thing too is,
oh,
oh, sorry.
no, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, my biggest thing too is I try to be authentically myself. And like when I have conversations with clients, I don't try to like sugarcoat anything or like act in like a different manner, like a higher class. Like I try to, I talk to them just like this on the same level. Still professional, but I'm not going over the top to try to impress them or upsell them on something. I give them my honest feedback. I talk to them just like we're friends, um, and I felt like that helps and that build a really good rapport with a lot of my longtime clients.
Yeah. No, I can see that, but you've also not only in your customer sphere, but in your peer sphere, you have some support because I feel like this might be an inside joke here. Stephanie with an F has said, "You've lived so many lives at just 25." I I thought you were a little bit older than that, maybe?
I am older than 25, but I will take that for sure. Thank you, Stephanie.
We do have a few questions, comments I want to pop over before we
Yeah.
dig into. And guys, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, Alan is phenomenal business person, fantastic business acumen, but I wanted to talk about his approach to social media because it's something that when I get to follow an advisor, an agency owner, and it's just something very passive, right? I'm going through my feed. It's something that has been I've noticed these beats throughout his career so far. So I want to get into that today. But first, let's get to some questions, comments here. Hannah said, "So your associates aren't your employees helping you helping you booking, but rather they are your own ICs. They are their own ICs." I can't read. I'm sorry, Hannah.
All
I
good.
think I get what she's saying. These are not
Yeah,
your
yeah.
employees assisting you.
Correct. They're not employees. I don't have any employees. I don't plan to ever have any employees, at least for the time being. They are associates, but they do follow my brand. So, like they're Crystal at Extravaganza Travel. So they all are follow under our brand, and but they are their own IC and their own business still. That's just the only difference there.
Yeah, and there are some uh, agency owners that choose to have ICs that are working within their brand,
Mhm.
and then there's some that you're your own business, yet you're working through my agency to fulfill the travel,
Yeah,
and there's nuances to both, but when they are acting on behalf of your brand, um, there's especially when you are the brand initially and you open the door and you let other people in, you've got to creatively guide them
yeah,
to keep them within your
yeah.
brand, right?
It's definitely been an adjustment because I'm so particular the way I do things. Um, so that's been an adjustment in to figure out that right way. But I have a great team that's super supportive, um, and they do a great job. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, like you said, there's different ways to do it. You can have them under the brand, and which I do, because my mentality was I want to make my brand Extravaganza Travel bigger. And it wasn't just bring ICs on to get extra money. It was bring ICs on to grow my business and grow the brand itself. So that's why I have them under our name.
And that's attractive to them as well because they're not building a brand from scratch.
Yeah.
They're working within your brand. So yeah, again, there's enough business for everyone and all the different models. There's nuances there, but I'm so happy that this has been a good fit for you because I know. Many agency owners who get started with say, a virtual assistant,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's 50-50 whether that first not hire but that first engagement's going to work because you have to figure out how to like what you can let go and what they can take over, and then to expand it for having advisors working within your brand. That's a whole other aspect of it. So very, very cool. Let's see, Kara said she did a 2 month notice when she quit her job as well. And
Awesome.
I remember, I think we were doing Love Travel, Live Travel, and I remember Kara when she posted,
I remember
I'm going
I was
full
on that
time.
one.
Yeah, that was such a cool thing. And it's one of those things that success does leave clues. And I've been very fortunate to see so many people who are in this like, I'm getting started, I'm figuring it out, and then all of a sudden, a little bit later, it's like, oh, I'm leaving my job, or oh, I'm taking on associates. So it's really cool. Winnie said you are relentlessly curious, and
I
I
am.
concur.
I do. I ask a lot of questions, um, but I don't think that's that bad. I
No,
think
I
sometimes a lot, but I ask a lot of questions. I like to know everything. So the more I know, I feel like the more I can help.
Uh, I'm gonna blow up your spot a little bit though, because sometimes I'll get a message from Alan, and he's like, I gotta know how does this work, or what's going on here?" I'm like, "Oh, when my phone goes off, I know it's Alan. I know it's Alan." But I love it. I love it, and I I will say I came into the travel industry in 2017, and I didn't know anything about travel whatsoever. And I think I had been to England, I had been to Jamaica, and I had been to Disney World. That was the extent of my travel outside of travel for work. And I remember, so I joined our company, and we had about 12 retail agencies that were a part of the business, and they had advisors that had been there for donkey's years, very, very successful. And I was supposed to help them increase lead flow, new client acquisition. They had very big book of business. And I remember meeting, I would branch the store, I branched the stores the first couple of months that I was there. And I was talking about marketing and leads, and they were not having any of my newfangled marketing ways. They were like, "Stay away! You are not welcome here. Be gone before a house drops on you." They were not welcoming. So I was relentless. I was gonna figure it out. I was gonna break through. But what I found and I'm sure you found this too, is that and I think this holds true for any industry, but in particular, the community within travel, what I've found is when you respect the industry and know that the person in front of you has such a varied experience. It could be short, it could be long. Um, if you respect that, they are so willing to welcome you in and share, share, share. And that once I clued into that, it was a flow, it was a steady flow of information and knowledge. And what I felt like I could do is connect. I could connect some of these stories and connect some of these advisors, and at the end of the day, I think that that has I think it would I think if I had just taken that for face value in the beginning and been shut down, "I don't want your newfangled marketing ways," I think I would have ran. I would have ran. But, man, the travel industry got in under my skin, and I'm here to stay. So, be curious, everybody be curious. Travel marketeers are already curious because I got you on here, on most Saturdays asking all sorts of questions. So I know that that's there, but this industry is, whether it's working with, your peers, with fellow advisors, or supplier partners, because even though they work for that particular brand, that doesn't mean that they haven't worked for other brands or even had an agency themselves. There is so much information, and they're willing to share as long as you're open and curious. Yeah. Let's see. So Janice said, I'm about to double dip too while I work from home. Huge help.
That's
I
good.
I think that's okay. We're getting some positive feedback. Uh, let's see. Hannah said here, hold on. Okay, thanks. Just trying to understand why, if, when I should go to agency or bring people in, but that has a ton of legal and fun stuff attached. So that's the decision to bring in team members or to expand via ICs. Um, did you, in terms of some of the ins and outs of bringing on ICs into your business,
Mhm.
did you do any digging into the legal requirements or things that you needed to stay away from?
Yeah, for sure. So I met with Tom Carpenter,
Oh,
one of the travel agency lawyers who's coming to
yeah,
World.
yeah.
Um, so I met with him and asked him a bunch of questions. And then he also drafted my IC contract as well. So everything that I possibly need to have is in there. So it was well worth his fee to do that. So that was incredible. Um, and then I met with I have a personal E&O policy insurance. So I talked with them and asked what else I need to do when I bring people on. And that was one of the things too with the ICs operating under my brand is that as long as they operate as Crystal at Extravaganza Travel, they will be covered under the IC or under the E&O.
Mhm.
But if they operated as their own business with their own business name, then they wouldn't be covered under my policy. So that's a kind of a benefit there as well.
That's awesome, and, yes, I love Tom Carpenter. He is phenomenal, also an agency owner, so it's not like
Yeah,
he's just, like, talking about the he's not just talking the talk, he's actually walking it too, I'm glad that you said that about it was worth the investment because I think often, especially when you're just getting started on a new aspect of your venture, you're like, do I really need to do it?" But starting out with that IC agreement, and making sure you cover your bases is pretty important because you don't have the intention of anything going sideways. But if it does, having something that covers your bases
yeah,
extremely important. I'm fortunate enough I get to serve on the board for the Professional Association of Travel Hosts, also PATH, because as we know, the travel industry loves some acronyms. So PATH, but that's we talk about that a lot because it's host agencies of all different sizes, and you'd be surprised at how many people how many agencies don't have, or they've kind of cobbled together an IC agreement over time. And something as simple as, and this might blow your mind, and it's hard because you got to retrain your brain, but the word training
Mhm.
is attached to employment. And if you call it training, it starts to blur the lines between an IC and an employee. So it's education. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's education. You gotta. So it's little things like that that you have to think about, to just make sure that you don't back yourself into a bizarre corner. But I love how Hannah said, and a lot of fun stuff attached to that
Oh
decision.
yeah.
Let's see. Janice, I don't even know if I can get to my questions about social media here because you are in demand. But I told you guys he's an amazing person and he's willing to share. So I love having him here. All right, Janice said you're huge with sandals. Why them? You loved the brand previously. Good relationship with the BDM. Good commissions. Just curious.
Yeah. So my love for sandals started. I actually honeymooned at Sandals Halcyon in St. Lucia. And then 2 years later, we went to Jamaica for an anniversary trip. And then that was kind of it. We were planning on another trip kind of like after I started being an advisor. But just my two experiences with them, um, I loved. And when I first started my agency, my focus was Disney and sandals because those are the two vacations that I've took frequently. I used to work for Disney. We go all the time, and then sandals is where I went international. So I felt like those were my two good starting points on what I knew because I didn't want to sell something I didn't know. Now, obviously, I do a lot of trainings and things like that for other things that I haven't been to, but those are my. That's how I kind of started with sandals. Because I've been there, I knew the brand, I knew they were a great brand and respected. Um, and then once I kind of got in, then I started doing some fam trips with them, and just learning more about the different resorts and everything they have to offer. And I just kind of fell in love. And like Wendy says, I drank the tea with them. So, um, but they're great, and I love them to this day. It was my biggest goal was to be one of their CRC members, and I hit that 2 years ago, and have had it since. So, pretty proud of that. But yeah, that's how that relationship started.
Well, I love that for you, and congratulations for hitting the CRC.
Thank you.
That is something I'm well aware of. So if you guys don't know, part of my role within World Via Travel Network is work industry relations and working with all of our travel partners. And Sandals is a fantastic partner to work with. Which Alan, you joined me, or you were in the audience when I was on one of their Facebook lives, and
Yeah.
this, guys, I just gotta tell you, like, my memory is like a goldfish, or my attention span. What? So I'm talking about this restaurant. They asked me what restaurant I liked at Sandals, and I'm like, oh, I like the one that's sushi. And Alan is chiming in, and he's naming the restaurant. And I had to say live on camera, I was like, of course, Alan's correcting me because he knows that this does not like names don't stick in my head, but they all knew you. And that's the thing I want to point out is by honing in, it was your passion, but for some people, it's not necessarily the passion, it's with who they choose to partner with. Like, this is my niche, and these are who I'm gonna partner with. But you applied that curiosity and that focus to Sandals and Disney destinations, and both of those partners know you and have
Mhm.
known you as you were climbing and growing your business, and I think that gets overlooked for many people starting their business. Especially they hear me talk about, find your niche, find the partners you want to work with. But those business development managers or those strategic account managers, they are there to help you grow your business. That is mutually beneficial. And
Yeah.
I know that you have tapped into them since the very beginning. And that has also opened the doors for other opportunities, where you have been named as, hey, we want can Alan be a part of this, that, and the other? And I think I love that you not only have peers cheering you on, but you've got your supplier partners cheering you on, and that's a great spot to be in. So I would encourage everyone who has chosen their niche, chosen their partners, get to know that BDM, or
Hmm.
that strategic account manager. Show up at those events. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a christening of a ship. It could be the ASTA chapter that representative is showing up at. They'll support you if you support them. And kudos to you. I forgot you and I talked about that at World 24 too. We talked about
Yeah.
partnering with
Yep.
travel partners. All right. So Hannah said, good. I use Tom too right now. So good to know. Also have my own E&O. Good to know about that too. Thanks a ton. Who knew we were gonna be helping people on that journey? I love that. Janice saying the same thing. Um, let's see. Let's see. Let's Gallivant. I don't know who that is. Alan's help with sandals was a huge help in booking a great trip recently for a client. Many thanks. So look at you, Alan. You're helping others grow their business. I love it. Rebecca said, "Makes sense. Smart to start with what you know."
Hmm.
Um, and guys, he definitely knows. I mean, I know he knows sandals, but I have now been with Alan to Universal and Disneyland and Disney World, and I bow down to the master of the knowing this, knowing all the ins and outs. In fact, I had never been on what was the ride? What's the ride with the uh,
The dragon.
was it the dragon where
Avatar. Is
you're
that what you're
riding
talking
something and it spits at
about?
you
Avatar.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he was with me on that, but that was Jenny who was warning me what that was going to be.
That was a great experience.
It really was. That so we did a VIP tour, um, which if you have not done one, you need
100%.
100%, because most poor suckers are getting to ride 3 rides, and I think we did every single thing in existence across the park. But it was so cool as a group to travel together, and Alan put that together. Alan is the great orchestrator of bringing people together, but being able to go as a group and have someone else guide us and lead us through it, was so cool. And I know I left with a lot of memories. So I got to publicly, I got to give you kudos. Thank you for including me
Well,
in on
yeah,
that.
it was awesome. I'm glad to have you.
Uh, so Hannah is saying it's soy. That's the
Yeah.
sushi restaurant. Yep, that's exactly what Alan said. That's exactly what Alan said, guys. Let's see. Oh, Let's Gallivant is Michelle Smith, or is it Michelle? Michelle Smith. Sorry, she switched handles. That's the one thing about running on the different social channels is the names. Switch around. And then Stephanie, I concur. Alan is the best Disney VIP guide. Yes, totally. All right, so I want to unpack social media with you
Okay.
because it's something. Like I said, when I get to follow an agency on social media, I follow, and then maybe I see something, maybe I don't see something. But what I noticed with you is it was like it was there. It was just kind of it was there. You were doing some things, and then all of a sudden it started to run like a machine. And now I'm really impressed with what you're doing, but some of the follow-on of what you shared with me about why that's important to you. But in the beginning, what inspired you to put so much focus on social media for your business?
Yeah, the I think the main focus was I really didn't know where else to start, and I felt like just posting on social media was going to be my best option to gain clients. So I had a pretty good like network of friends and just on my personal Facebook page, and that's really where I started, was just Facebook. I've really only started with Instagram over the past year, maybe a year and a half. So I created my Facebook business page. I invited all my friends to it. I would run different, like, essentially gift card incentives to get people to follow me and stuff like that. Um, to try to, I know that necessarily doesn't bring a ton of business, but I wanted to get the audience up so more people are seeing my stuff. Um, and then I was really diligent, posting at least once or twice a day when I first started. Um, and it was primarily focused around what I do and different travel deals. So like I would post like sample pricing for like a week at Disney with a family of four, or a cruise special that was going on, or like a group rate that we had, something that was set in stone. And then with like sandals and all inclusives, I would post like, you can go here for 4 nights for under $3,000 just to gain interest. Um, and so that really, I think that's how I started and really helped. And now I think I've evolved since then. I don't now post as many like deals and promotions and things like that. You'll see probably like most of my content now is like either travel humor, um, relatable travel reels about like my daughters, um, a lot of room tours, things like that. And it's not necessarily like, look at this price. Well, actually, I just posted one yesterday about look at this price, but like, I haven't done that in a while. But like every now and then I'll throw one of those in there. But most of my content now is like being the expert of these destinations and showcasing that I've been here, the ins and outs, or like the top tips and tricks for each of these resorts, or things to know, the 5 things you need to know it when you go into Magic Kingdom, or something like that. So I try to do a little bit of that now.
Well, Kara's asking, do you find that you get a lot of business from your social media, or is it more to stay in front of people?
So when I first started out, I would say 90% of the clients that I got were from Facebook. Um, it was pretty much all Facebook. So I just kept pounding twice a day, posting to Facebook. Um, Now I would say 90% of my clientele is referrals. I get a handful every now and then from social media, and I've never gotten one client from Instagram.
Okay.
um, which is funny because you if you everybody's different. There's some people that don't get any business on Facebook and all their business comes from Instagram. But for me, all of my business has been through Facebook, and now over the past 2 years is pretty much just straight referrals, and never anything from Instagram. But I still post to it every day because I like it and I enjoy it.
Now, you're also doing TikTok, right?
Yeah. So, and I do TikTok, but usually I just take the same. I save the video from Instagram and repurpose it onto TikTok. But TikTok actually performs better for me. Still, I've not gotten clients from TikTok, but if you look at like my views and things like that, every video, the same exact video, has 5 times or more views on TikTok versus Instagram. Like the last, I just posted one about like being a Disney dad. On Instagram, it has less than 1,000 views, and on TikTok, I think it's at like 20,000 right now. So I don't know what it is. It's just the different algorithms and stuff like that, which I'm not invested into figuring that out.
But you'll take the 20,000 views.
But yeah,
You're
I'll
you're
take
you're
it.
okay with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that that is. I always joke. I keep saying it for the last year and a half. I've said, "Oh, I discovered TikTok 6 months ago." I just say that, right? Because I I while I knew about it, I didn't really engage with it because I really loved Instagram. I liked the more authentic content that you could get
Mhm.
from, or that I could produce on Instagram versus some of the shared content that is generally posted on Facebook just by the majority of people that participate in it. And then I kind of wafted over into TikTok, and now it has messed me up personally, I will say. I can't watch shows that I've watched for 20 years. You know, a new season comes out and I'm like, I'm sorry, I need faster content than this. Like I'm
Mhm.
like I'm in TikTok. But what I have learned through my research is that the algorithm and the way that TikTok is reading the user, the discoverability is just so much higher on that platform. So it doesn't surprise me that your reels are not performing the same as your TikToks are, because it's a different experience for the user. But
Yeah.
it isn't one, at least from what I've found, it isn't one where you get a direct in travel, a direct inquiry. It just, the call to action really isn't there. It's more about you holding space in someone's mind of, okay, let me go look at Extravaganza Travel, and then I'm going to go the web route and discover them there. But yeah, I had picked up that you were that you were on TikTok, because that's now where I hang out. If I am not
Yeah.
at work, I am on TikTok,
And
and
that's more recent too. That's only been in the past couple months. I started repurposing the videos over there, but now I just do it whenever I post a reel. Then I'll just throw it onto TikTok also. So
yeah, and just a tip for you guys. Where Facebook and Instagram are still, I mean, they're kind of moving away from it, but they're still pretty focused on the time when you publish, right? So it's doing the chronological. I mean, they've changed it a bit, but still, it's where you want to post on a pretty consistent basis. You want to space it
Mhm.
out, but on TikTok, and I just ran a test a month ago where I dumped 18 short form videos, and I just dumped them all in one go. And Christine, who's watching us right now, she was like, "Oh, I watched that," and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna mess up your page." And let me tell you, Christine, I did not. I got more views than I have ever gotten in my life, and it still keeps growing because of the way that the algorithm is presenting that content. I feel like TikTok is the place where you're going to be discovered, but then they've got to branch off and go elsewhere to kind of validate you and figure out if they want to do business with you. So I'm just saying, get don't hold back from the content. Get the content out. Just keep publishing and see what happens. Now, Kara said, "Yeah, Instagram seems like a void to me, business wise." She clarifies that it's business wise. Personally, she loves Instagram, right, Kara?
yeah.
I love to tease her.
And so to clarify too, I have two Instagrams. So I have the business one, um, which if you look at that, it's slacking. Um, and then my personal one is travel related, but it's my personal one. But that's pretty much where I post everything. So when someone like asks for my Instagram, I give them my personal one. Um, the business one is more where like I'll post like specials or promotions, things like that, and then my personal travel one is more of like genuine content and relatable humor and things like that. So
Which that is a strategy, right? To you are very much your brand. So have your personal page supplement
yeah,
what you're doing, and allow that even gives you a little more freedom too. And the more that people get a glimpse of who you are, the more it just like double validates your business. Not only can they see you've got a professional page, but you've got your personal page, and you're living the life that fits your customers as well.
yeah,
So it wouldn't work for everybody, but I think for most people that I get to work with, I feel like that's a great strategy. Now, I think the challenge is making sure that like you've got that line of separation. That I put my deals, my promotional type things on my business page, and then my travel related content I'm putting on my
mhm,
personal page. That means content. You got to create content, and you got to figure out which bucket it goes into.
yeah.
Um, let's see. So Connie said, do you do teasers on social for a trip that is coming up to get people interested in following you on the trip? If so, how did that work compared to posts live at a resort?
Yeah, so it's been a while actually since I've gone live. I know I need to do that more, but I do usually on most trips that I'm taking. I will make like a "come follow along with me" post, and then usually I'll make it as like a in Instagram. I'll make it as like a carousel post. So I'll have like a picture of where I'm going with me on it. And so like come follow along with me. And then on the next pages will kind of be like a sample itinerary of things that I'm going to be seeing and doing. Um, and try to gain interest and have people follow and make sure I mention like follow me in the stories. Cause usually when I'm in destination, I try to be really good and methodical on posting stories and posting them in a very specific order as well. Um,
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I like if I'm going somewhere new, and you guys can look at this too, but I like on Instagram where you can save you can do your highlights. So
Yeah.
the little circles that pop up. So like when I go, what was the last one I might have did? Um, I don't remember, but I would I so the highlights will be like a sample of like where you went. So when we went on the diamond getaway last year to Secrets Moche, um, we did. I kind of I wanted to make a high. I knew I wanted to make a highlight of that, so people can go back and look at it. Or if someone has interest in that resort, I can be like, hey, go over to my Instagram and look at my highlight of that resort, and you can see everything. So I do that for pretty much every ship or destination I go to, so I can refer people back to see like actual pictures and videos and things like that. But the one thing with highlights is you can't rearrange the stories. So it posts in the order that you post them on your story. So taking that into account, like if you've looked at like the past Disney trip I just did, or Disney cruise I did recently, um, I was posting, I think I might have posted like one thing like during the day, just like a quick snapshot. But at night, usually what I'll do is I'll take all my pictures and videos during the day. And then when I'm laying in bed at night, I will go through and I'll post them in order, exactly how I want them to show up. So someone goes back 2, 3 months later, they can follow along in the correct order and day by day. So that's how I methodically go about that.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, not only about the highlight, in using highlights, but part of the objection to creating content, at least I hear a lot, is, well, I want to enjoy the experience. I want to be in destination. I want to, I don't want to be worried about capturing content and posting it. But what you just said there is, I think, the lesson. It doesn't have to be in real time. You are not
Mhm.
on CNN where you're trying to report live. You can, it could be 24 hours later. You could put together this story. Everything could be a day later,
Mhm.
or even a week later
Even
if
when
you
you get
wanted to.
home, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the last whatever I think the last AEP I went on with Disney, I did this where um, I took all my pictures and videos during the day, and then at night in bed, like it was like midnight or 11 o'clock, I would post everything for that day in order the way I wanted to. But then on one of my recent family trips, I did everything after I got home, and then just repurposed them in the order that I wanted them to be. Now, like I'll post something like here or there that necessarily doesn't go with the highlight that I want, just to know, like, hey, I'm still active and I'm still here.
yeah.
Um, and then every time I go on a trip too, I usually plan out 2 or 3 like actual posts that I'm going to make, and I'll create essentially all of the verbiage and content and everything aside from the pictures that I'm going to post. So all I need to do is match the pictures up with the content and verbiage I've already created,
Yeah.
and then I'll post that on each day. So I have something still posting every day, and I'm enjoying it. I don't have to think about what I want to say or what I want to do because I already created that.
I never thought about that. I never thought about creating the story, the copy, in advance, and
Mm-hmm.
because I do feel like I'm going to get inspired when I'm doing a thing and I don't even know what that is. But if you built that, if you know you're talking about this destination and you know you want to talk about how families can do it, how how you can manage different things, eating, things like that, if it, even if you planned out 7 posts that unpack specific components of the story, you could still you could grab other pieces of content that you didn't know you were going to capture.
Yeah.
But pairing it up does take a lot of stress,
Hmm.
and allows you to be more strategic about uh, what the story that you're unpacking for your audience, and then you still have the room to play, which that
Yeah,
brilliant, brilliant.
especially if it's an agent trip of some a fam or an AP, I will always um, usually like research like popular reels or things like that that have been successful and things like that, and kind of make my own spin on it, or think of different ideas that I want ahead of time, and I'll make the whole verbiage of all those posts, and then now I know exactly what pictures and what video clips I need to take when I go, and usually I'll put them in like a checklist too, and I'll on my phone in my notes, and I'll be like, okay, I need this video, this video, this video, this video. Like there was one at Magic Kingdom. It took me like probably 6 months to make it in like 3 trips. But it was like I did the sounds of Magic Kingdom. So I went and I recorded very specific sounds that you only hear at Magic Kingdom. And then I repurposed that into a video. So every time I usually go somewhere, I have a specific idea of at least 2 or 3 reels that I want to make. And so I know exactly what I need to have. And then it's easy at that point because you just piece it together. You already have your verbiage and everything written out.
Well, I didn't realize that you managed it at that level, but I will say as somebody who Alan, I'm not buying from you. I'm not your customer, but I am so entertained by the content that you're creating. And the other thing I love about it, so even though you say how calculated it is in terms of you have a plan and you want to execute that plan, it feels so authentic. It never feels overproduced. Lord
Mhm.
knows if I were to do it, I'd have to go buy an $800 camera to go shoot 5 seconds of something, and then it never even makes it up there. Like that, I get in my own way in terms of production quality. But what I'm missing out on is just hit record or just snap the shot, and have some sort of story to tell. Like you were talking about on your personal page, you had Disney Dad was one of the
Mhm.
themes that you were working with. I mean, that isn't a stretch. You are a Disney dad, right? But you created a story, and that storytelling element, I think, is very elusive for a lot of people, to think about it that way. Instead, it's like I've been on some of those familiarization trips, aka FAMs. We got to make sure because not everybody knows all the acronyms in the travel business, but I've been on some of those FAMs, and I think you've probably heard me say this before. I was blown away the first time I went on one. It was in Cancun, where we were going to all these different hotels, and the agents kept taking pictures of toilets, and I didn't understand like how that was going to help them sell the resort. Now I get it that there's certain element aspects of the bathroom, the bedroom, things like that that you're trying to capture. But to me, that was like this very factual content and not the inspirational, ooh, I want to see myself there kind of content. So that kind of threw me for a loop. But
Yeah, it's all the
yes.
B-roll that you can take of just random things, and then if you piece it together the right way and kind of master that craft, you can really make some good some good videos.
And you didn't have any experience with this before, right?
No, I didn't. Before travel, I posted on social media maybe twice a year. I didn't do any. I literally learned from following. I would follow some successful like travel bloggers or travel influencers, things like that. And then I have met some really great agency owners
Hmm.
that do social media really, really, really well. Um, and I became really good friends with them. So I picked their brains all the time. I'm like, hey, how did you make this video? Or how did you do that little aspect? And then everybody's always usually willing to help. So just kind of picking other advisors' brains and watching. I'm on my phone a lot, so I watch a lot of content and try to get inspiration. I have a whole like saved category for all travel inspiration reels that I'm going to try to make my own in the future. So, um, yeah, just kind of getting ideas and learning. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to make reels, and so just a lot of training and understanding the whole process.
Yeah, again, that curiosity. Are
Yeah.
you seeing success leaves clues, and curiosity is the through line here. Now, are there any tools or apps that you use to help you manage your social media, schedule your social media, create some of the content?
Um, yes and no. So I've gone through a couple different things. So like Facebook and Instagram have I forgot what the app is called, the content creator or
Oh, the Meta Business Center.
business, yeah,
Yeah,
business center. Because I know you can post on there and it will post to both, or you can schedule on there and things like that. But lately, all I've been doing is I create everything in Instagram and I have it just linked to my Facebook and I just do it straight from there.
yeah,
I have used sometimes I'll use CapCut for ideas for different templates
yeah,
and things like that. So I'll use that here and there. But as far as like apps for posting, I've used like Branch Up in the past and things like that. I personally am not a big fan of like those type, and that's more so because um, it's the same content going out to a lot of different advisors, and
yeah.
so and it doesn't. It feels more um, to me. A lot of it sometimes feels more promotional and things like that, as where I would like to create like original content and things of my own pictures, my own videos, and things like that. So I try to stick to as little as I need to manage as possible.
Yeah, well, back in the day, you didn't have the ability to schedule content on the platforms. Now all of them have the ability
Yeah,
to schedule, like you can create a post and then schedule it. Or I do like that Meta Business suite
yeah,
for scheduling because you can do both platforms or you can choose one versus
which
the
one?
other.
Yeah,
And it gives you a neat calendar view to see where you have spots. And as it starts to collect more data, it tells you when your current audience is more likely to engage with your content. I don't I sometimes if you post things at the same time, most days, you're always going to get, oh, well, this is the time that most of your people engage with it. So you
yeah,
have to have a lot of variety there. But I love the fact that you've got that ability. And on my TikTok journey, as I'll call it, the TikTok studio has been pretty helpful. It has some powerful tools there because again, it's a different type of content, even though you can use the same, like your real content, you can use that there, but it does have some interesting tools that you can work with that are specific to TikTok. And I'm glad that you mentioned CapCut because I did my first CapCut on Sunday. I was in Alcatraz, and I had gotten all these photos, and they were all typical tourist photos. Like I
hmm,
wasn't even in the photo, so I could have stolen that from anybody. I'm sorry, that bothers me. I mean, if at least make a selfie. I don't know why I didn't do it. I was with some other people, and I guess maybe I didn't want to cheese it up. I don't know. There was something was wrong. So I downloaded CapCut and just threw the images in there, and you can go to my Instagram and you can see it's okay. It's not great, but I I think like the way you described it is you're doing all different types of content. So if you use that CapCut tool occasionally for a template, it's not like that's your entire workflow
yeah.
for your
Yeah, and
content.
CapCut, I mean, it's great. Like, especially someone that's newer to social media and has all these videos of different resorts and things like that. It's a great way to, if you don't know how to edit a reel and stuff like that, just throw all the clips into one of the templates that you like, and it does it all for you. You just have to add some verbiage. So spoiler alert, my July, I post every month. I post a reel of like where are my clients traveling to for that month. So like my July one that I'll post here in 2 or 3 days um, is a CapCut template. I actually made it in June with all of my July clients, thinking that it was June. So I had this. I've had it saved for a month. But yeah, I use it frequently. Some of the templates I really like and are really good, especially if there's like some trending audios and trending kind of memes and stuff like that that are going on. It's a really good spot to find that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I will say it was easy to use. I didn't, play with it to customize what I was working on. I really felt like this was my moment to capture Alcatraz and let me throw it in there, and at the end of the day, it was a lot better than a carousel of photos that looked like anybody took it, so,
Yeah.
I was pleased with that. Um, so you were talking about how you get inspiration. You've got essentially a swipe file of things that you like, things that you're saving for later. And I know Steph with an F, who was watching us earlier. She was sharing because I had noticed her social media. I was like, man, you are killing it. I am
She's
loving
doing a
this.
great.
Yeah, it completely different style.
Yeah.
So it's not one path, right? But when she broke it down, and she shared with us on the Crown Call, she shared with everyone, that she has a calendar of themes for each day of the week, and then there's content that she might have that she's repurposing, and then there's other things that she's going and creating a piece of content for that, and then it sounded like when she was traveling, there'd kind of an override of the schedule
Mhm.
because she's got on the ground content. But that helped her in her business stay consistent with creating content. So, do you have something similar? Is there a system that you're using to make sure that when you don't have the inspiration, there's still something flying? How do you manage that?
Um, I don't honestly.
Okay.
I used to maybe a couple months ago. I would do like I wrote out in my phone like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so on, and I would put what I want to post, kind of like a calendar like that. But I've stopped that just because it got to be too overwhelming, and I was getting too busy with everything else in the business. Um, so lately, it's really just been like if you look at my drafts of my reels, I have probably 25 reels like ready to go. All I have to do is just add some verbiage and stuff in there. So if I ever like, usually I'll create stuff every day just on the go if I think of something. And if I can't think of something and it's getting too late, then I'll go into my drafts and I'll use one of those. But usually when I was in Disney last week, I created I think 5 reels that I'm going to post, but I just haven't posted them because I didn't want to post them all at once. So I have those saved for when I have like downtime or down spots that I'll just kind of throw out there. And that's kind of how I do it right now. But I love the calendar idea, especially for like the business profile, um, where I can have kind of continuous stuff in there. I really haven't had the time and energy to put that into that part right now. I'm focused more on the personal page, but it'll
Well,
get there.
and sometimes when you have that, and like you said, you had that at one point.
Mhm.
So, and now you're you've got a different flow. So,
Yeah,
I think I think it's a good practice to instill to make content a part of your everyday. But
yeah.
you're right, it becomes another monster that you're feeding within your business, right? So it becomes another to-do list
It's a,
item that it
it's
can.
another job to really manage social media well,
Yeah.
um, and it can feel like that at times. And what's helpful for me at least is I travel pretty frequently, and usually anytime I'm on a trip, for some reason that's when I feel the most creative and can make the most posts. So that's why I'll create a lot of posts while I'm on that trip or right when I get home from it, and then I'll save them all in my drafts. That way I have stuff. stored up, like I was saying, for when I can't think of something or I'm too busy one day. I have something that I can pull out. Um,
Well,
so
and
that's how.
and 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 I've witnessed you capturing, like, just filming something, and you now I know you might have had a plan, but getting that B-roll, that background footage, not your A-roll, your main camera shots, but your the background shots, the things that you can kinda splice together. I felt like while we were walking through the park, um, you were just capturing loads of different things, and
Mhm.
then when I look at some of your posts, you are telling a story, but I'm sure you've got gobs and gobs of video content that you're like, "Oh, do I have the enchanted tiki room? Let me see what I've got to match a story." And I really wanted to talk about something that I've noticed with you lately, and you might have been doing it all along, but I tuned into it recently. Uh, so newsjacking has been in social media for a long time. So something is going on in the news. How can I turn it into something about my business, something I can speak about? How can I jump on essentially a trend? What is out in the zeitgeist, that I can be a part of? And I call it newsjacking for you. You're not newsjacking, essentially, but when in particular it was Disney destinations, there were a couple of announcements that happened recently, and also Epic Universe. I'm tuned into that content from you, but you've got the red lights flashing. You've got breaking news, and you're releasing this new hot off the presses information, and I loved that for you because it was not only have I, as a viewer of your content, associated with you with sandals and Disney destinations and Universal. So I've seen all this. I've seen the captures with your family, you just experiencing the parks on your own, but you've now become my source of news, and it wasn't top secret news. It wasn't at all. You just made it,
Yeah.
breaking news. So what was the inspiration behind that? How did you go that route?
Yeah, I think just I try to be on top of it. So as soon as I get the email from, like, for Disney in this case, when they announced the name of the Cars Land that's going to be at Magic Kingdom. So as soon as that went out, then I'm like, all right, well, this would be a cool kind of little post to make. So um, and it is breaking news, so I just try to make it like a news headline and be like, hey, everybody look at this, and try to get people, as if someone sees like bright flashing lights or breaking, then typically my thought is they're gonna spend an extra minute looking at it and be like, oh, what is this? And then they'll read it, and then, oh, that's really cool, my kid loves cars. And then maybe that puts a little note in their head for later, um, to come back to me whenever they're ready. So try to do stuff to capture their attention, and I feel like that works a lot of times for these breaking headlines and things like that.
Well, and it also just says you're the expert. So
Yeah.
and what I noticed is it's like we interrupt your regularly scheduled broadcast for this breaking alert. That
Hmm.
is what it did. So even though I knew that news, I knew about that. I
Yeah.
I felt like only Alan knows this answer. So why would I even book with anyone else if Alan is the one plugged in? So I thought that was it was very noticeable, and kudos to you for tapping into that because especially with something like Disney destinations, you didn't get some secret tip off.
Yeah.
It's
And kind of a pro tip on the background with that is, like, I've done those posts too for, like, when they release the Mickey's Not So Scary tickets.
yes.
So we all know that's coming. And so I already have that reel made and that post made 2 months before they announce the dates. And it's just waiting until the day they announce. So the second I get the email that, hey, it's released, I'm one of the first people to have it done, as opposed to taking an hour or two to create something creative for that. So, like for the Christmas party that's going to be released in another month or two, I have that already made and ready to go for whenever those dates drop. So, things like that you know are going to be essentially breaking news, but coming, I like to have stuff already set and made for that. And then if I need to tweak it a little bit, I can. But the main bulk of it is already done.
I love that. And guys, with Alan, we're talking sandals and Disney and Universal, right? But this applies to
Anything.
all of just anything. I mean, just think about even world cruises when those go on sale. You know about when they're going to drop. So if that's your business, then start to build that content before, and that gives you confidence going into it. Because one of the things that I was very surprised about in the travel industry is you don't get a promotional calendar to know that on September 15th this is happening. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
find out on September 14th that this is happening on the
Yeah.
15th, right? So, but you do know it's going to happen around September. So there's things, and even if you have just the general seasonality of travel, like when you want to start talking about Alaska, so people have time to book Alaska, whatever it is, you can start to create some of that milestone content throughout the year, and then pepper in other pieces of content that you've been working on or the ad hoc content that you're going to create. But it sounds like it gives you a lot of peace of mind that you've got those 24, 25 reels kind
Yeah.
of work put together. They need a little finishing touch, but it gives you that confidence that you can think about your business and selling more
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then even like when I got to go to preview Epic before it officially opened, and I took so much content there, and I still have stuff like made like when I if you look at my story or my highlight story for Epic, I'll toot my own horn on that because I'm pretty proud of that. That's probably the best highlight I've ever done. So definitely check that out if you can. But in there you'll see I made reels of like highlights of each land, but never posted them as a reel, saved them as the video and posted them as a story with like text and stuff over it. But now I can go back because I still have the reel saved and repurpose that later. And I can essentially put whatever wording and stuff I want on it to change it up and make it a little bit different too. So um, try to do all different types of things like that.
No, that's brilliant. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time together,
Yeah,
but we do have some comments and questions, so I'm
yeah,
gonna hit that real quick before we wrap up.
yeah.
Janice said, was that a Facebook page or a private group that you have on Facebook?
On Facebook, I just have my page. It's not I don't have any private groups.
Okay.
So my business is just a generic Facebook page. Um, and then my Instagram business one is a generic Facebook business page. And then my personal one on Instagram is just my personal one. But I made them creator accounts. So I have a little bit more access to do things.
Yeah, that does help. And the Facebook group strategy is very effective, especially
Mhm.
if you want to have like a smaller group of an audience that you want more of an intimate conversation with. It also gives you some flexibility if you're tied into those last minute deals, or you've got that audience and that niche where that works. You're within that closed group. To be able to communicate directly some of those offers. So I've seen people have great success with groups, and I've also seen people create groups to and create a lot of content within the group, but they're missing the ability to get more audience into that group. So
Mhm.
you're kind of it's all something you've got to think about the ins and outs on. But Hannah said, "Are you boosting or running ads?"
I do not typically. I have done. a handful, maybe five or less. And I've never personally, I've never seen it um, get me anything extra. No messages from it aside from spam. That's all I get. But I know that it does work for a lot of other agents, and that's why I'll try it every now and then. But personally, I haven't ever seen success with it on my end.
Awesome. I think you answered this already, but Christine's asking, do you get business from the TikTok views? So 20,000 views.
Yeah, I do not. And I mean, I have some videos that have way more than, like, on Instagram. I have two that have over 1 million, um, and I've never got a DM from either of those videos or anything like that. So it's random, I guess. For me, I just don't get any direct messages from TikTok or Instagram, and um, I'm not sure why, but
From what I can tell in talking to loads of entrepreneurs, it's some of those offers like download this course or things like that. I mean, that's the quick hit stuff. They're seeing activity there, but mostly people are talking about from a brand awareness perspective, the overall online presence is boosting their business, but not directly attributed to the platform. So, so you might be seeing people come through in other channels, even
yeah.
maybe direct on your website that you can't necessarily attach to that. But it's an interesting thing, and it's something I wouldn't ignore. I would keep like you're saying, you just leverage the same content, you repurpose the same content, and at some point that might shift. I mean, hey, MySpace was a thing back in the day. It's gone.
Mhm.
Facebook was strong. It's starting to move over to Instagram. I mean, everything's just constantly moving as we evolve. But I would definitely keep things flowing. Kara said, "Do you use AI to come up with ideas for reels and posts?"
I do. So I will use AI, ChatGPT, or Joshua. You're gonna hate me, but I can't think of the name in WorldVia of it.
Oh, Avia.
Content creator, or yeah,
It's
and Avia.
So Avia is now it's more powerful than content creator.
Yeah, so I haven't. I when I used to use that, so I'll mostly use it for creating ideas for the verbiage,
Hmm.
and then I'll tweak it a little bit so it doesn't sound as um, AI-ish. But it's actually gotten really good lately. But I will sometimes use it like, hey, can you give me ideas for a reel about top three tips to do when checking into your hotel or something like that? And then I'll take a look and I'll just get ideas. Usually I'll piece stuff together, but I do use it a lot to gain ideas. It is very helpful.
I think you can really mass out ideas using AI tools. And as long I feel like I've said this before, I'm a better editor than I am a
Hmm.
writer. So I would if I had to come up with 15 ideas, it could I would be in creative procrastination mode all day long.
Yeah.
But if I got 15 pieces in a minute, I could edit those really fast, and I would feel super confident to move forward. Um, so we are at time, and there's still people who have questions. And thank you guys. I'm sorry, I was in a flow there with Alan, and I just wanted to keep it going. Alan, thank you so much for sharing, being so open, and bringing such positivity to the industry. I know that this is just the start of your journey, and I know that you've got a lot more impact that you'll have across the industry. And I'm just so proud to know you and be a small part of your story. But thank you for being here. And I think I have to have you back to talk about other things because people want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, for sure. We can definitely do a part two. I'm open whenever you want. So, and if are those questions posted in the Facebook chat? Like,
They're all over. We're broadcasting on
yeah.
LinkedIn, on Facebook, but I'm sure you will find them. I'm sure
All
you'll
right. Well,
find them.
if I see them, I'll go in and answer them too. So
And guys, go follow Extravaganza Travel on all the socials and
Yeah,
see what we've been talking about.
Extravagranza with an R in there.
Yes, Granza.
Travel for Facebook and Instagram. And then my better Instagram and personal one is traveler.allen. So that's
Awesome.
what I am on on TikTok as well, traveler.allen.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you, Alan, and thank you guys for tuning in live. We will see you again soon. And if you are joining us live, happy 4th of July. What a fantastic week we got ahead of us. So take care of yourself. See you real soon. Bye, guys.
Uh,